If you're here, something in you is already shifting, curious about wisdom that has traveled through millennia yet still pulses with relevance. You've likely heard whispers about Stoicism, a way to remain unshaken by life's storms. A philosophy that promises calm in chaos. But beneath its calm exterior lies a story far richer than mere tranquility. Let us explore Socrates' industry secrets and see how Stoicism, when stripped to its essence, can reveal unexpected depths and maybe, just maybe, help you see your own inner landscape with new eyes. SFX, soft_wind_chimes. 3. Stoicism often feels like a fortress built around the self, a shield against misfortune and emotional upheaval. We imagine it as stern, almost cold, demanding effortless calm no matter what life throws. But here is the first secret Socrates might quietly share. Stoicism is not about denying emotion. It's about understanding it deeply enough to not be enslaved. Think about that for a moment. What if being stoic is less about bottling feelings and more about befriending them? Socrates, as the grand teacher of asking questions rather than handing answers, invites us to question what control really means. When you say, "I need control to feel safe," are you sure what exactly needs controlling? Your circumstances? Or your reaction to those circumstances? SFX, water and a slow. 2. The ancient Stoics teach us a subtle but profound distinction between what is within our power and what is not. This might seem obvious now. It's practically a mantra for modern self-help. But Socrates would prod, do you truly grasp where your power lies? Or have you assigned it to illusions? Ask yourself, what battles are you fighting that no amount of effort can win? Is it a change in someone else's heart? Is it the unpredictable chaos of the world? Socrates' industry secret lies precisely in this: recognizing the boundary of your agency with brutal honesty, not resignation. Yet honesty here is not defeat, it's liberation. SFX, distant_bells. 2. So why does this matter? Because in surrendering what we cannot command, we reclaim energy to engage fully with what we can affect: our thoughts, values, choices. Imagine your mind as a garden, trying to uproot every weed of discomfort in others or the world is exhausting and futile. Instead, focus on tending your own soil. How does this metaphor feel in your chest? But here is Socrates' gently ironic twist in asking us to focus inward. Stoicism doesn't promote selfishness or indifference. Rather, it awakens a deeper sense of responsibility. If your internal state shapes how you meet the world, then cultivating virtue within becomes an act of kindness far beyond yourself. SFX, soft_heartbeat. 3. Now, let us wander further into how Stoicism engages with the passing nature of existence. Epictetus famously said, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well." This doesn't mean dull acceptance or fatalism. It's a vibrant invitation to align your will with reality. But can we simply shift our desires by fiat? What if inside there is resistance, grief, anger? Here is where Socrates' style of inquiry nudges us to notice the friction without judgment. What if the real teacher is this very tension, the uncomfortable space between who you want to be and what life hands you? SFX, com_waves, for consider this. What if the problem isn't the external event, but the narrative we build around it? What if you've been holding on to a story that demands injustice or suffering be other than it is? Socrates, ever the midwife of ideas, would encourage you to question your inner dialogue. What assumptions underlie your pain? If you dismantled that story piece by piece, what would remain? A core self, aware and present. This leads us to an essential Stoic insight. It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. This begs the question, how often do we confuse events with the meanings we overlay on them? SFX, Jittal_ain. 3. Imagine reframing a sinking feeling as a messenger rather than an enemy. What wisdom might it carry? Could discomfort serve as a guidepost pointing toward neglected parts of your being or values? Socrates might gently ask, which part of yourself are you avoiding when you resist certain feelings? And how might embracing those parts lead to wholeness? Stoicism encourages us not to deny the messiness of human experience, but to meet it with curiosity and resilience. It's a practice, not perfection. The Stoic sage is less a distant ideal and more a patient companion along your journey to self-understanding. SFX, soft_footsteps. 2. The power of Stoicism lies not in rigid detachment, but in deepening your capacity to observe your responses. When you see your impulses clearly, fear, desire, anger, can you catch the space before reaction? That space is freedom. Ask yourself, what would it mean to treat your inner world as a curious witness, not a battleground? How might your relationship with suffering change if you gave it room instead of a swift verdict? SFX, echoing_bell. 1 last Socratic secret. Wisdom often arrives disguised as paradox. By seeking control, we discover the freedom in surrender. By facing vulnerability, we unlock strength. By questioning certainty, we invite growth. If you're here, wandering through uncertainty, know this Stoicism doesn't ask you to harden your heart, but to enliven it with clarity. You don't have to become someone else. You just need to see what is already there, untouched beneath the noise. Could it be that your restless seeking is the very sign of a soul waking up? SFX, soft_birdsong. 3. So the next time turmoil rises, instead of fleeing or fighting, invite that moment in as a peculiar teacher. Listen, ask what it wants you to know, and in that gentle interrogation, you may glimpse a freedom beyond your fears, a quiet harmony waiting inside. What if Stoicism's deepest promise is not a life without struggle, but a way to dance with it? How might you start that dance today? SFX, fading_wind. For let us take a moment to deepen this exploration. If Stoicism is the dance with life's inevitable storms, then what of the self who dances? Socrates invites you to peer closely at who is moved by these winds, who watches the storm unfold, who, beneath the thunder, remains still. This question isn't metaphysical abstraction, it's an opening, an invitation to consider the layers of your identity. We often think of the self as a fixed entity, a solid center from which all experience radiates. But have you noticed moments when you feel fragmented? When who you are seems to shift depending on circumstances, feelings, or the people around you? Socrates would ask you to hold this suspicion gently. Is the self really a monolith? Or is it more like a theater, where different voices and masks appear and fade? SFX, soft_echoing_chimes. 2. Modern psychology, much like Stoicism, points to the fluid nature of our identity. The ego we cling to can be a pattern, a series of habits, fears, and stories woven through time. What if being stoic doesn't mean hardening this ego, but learning to observe its performances, without losing yourself in the drama? For example, when anger arises, do you believe I'm anger or I notice anger arises? This subtle shift is at the heart of Stoic practice. It's not that emotions vanish, but that your relationship to them changes. You become the watcher, the conscious presence that neither denies nor indulges but holds space. SFX, heartbeat_soft. 3. This isn't an easy stance, and that's why Socrates' method is vital. His gentle, ironic questioning is a tool for liberation. What if you started asking yourself, whose voice is this inside my head? Is this my authentic self, or a role shaped by fear, habit, or expectation? How might this inquiry reveal new freedom? Now consider the Stoic concept of virtue, often mistranslated as moral rigidness. Virtue in Stoicism is more like skillfulness in living. It's the art of acting wisely, courageously, justly, and with temperance. Socrates, famed for his relentless questioning, would liken virtue to a craft, something honed over time. through failure and reflection, not a state of perfection. This insight reminds us that philosophy is not an escape from life, but engagement with it at its most honest. When life challenges your hopes, your sense of justice, or your comfort, virtue becomes your compass, not a promise that life will bend to your will, but that you can navigate regardless of the winds. SFX, ocean_waves_gentle. For let S circle back to control with this lens. It's tempting to think gaining control means bending the world to our desires. But Stoicism leads us down a subtler path. Control means mastery over your judgments, choices, and intentions. At first, this sounds small compared to the scale of life as storms. But such mastery ripples outward. Think about a tree rooted deeply in the soil. It cannot command the storm, but it can sway without breaking. This image captures the Stoic ideal beautifully. Your strength, isn't invincibility, but resilient flexibility, the capacity to meet what comes with dignity and presence. SFX, forest_breeze, 3 now. Here, S an irony Socrates might smile at. Your fiercest resistance often arises around your very desire to control. The harder you cling, the more life slips beyond your grasp. What if the secret isn't tighter grip, but a more fluid hand? What if control and surrender aren't opposites, but partners in the dance? If that feels bewildering, it's invite-worthy. How do you hold a paradox inside your heart? How might embracing uncertainty itself deepen your calm? Stoicism doesn't give you unshakable certainty. It gives you tools to live with uncertainty without losing yourself. It's an apprenticeship in uncertainty. SFX, come_forest. 3 another cornerstone in this philosophy, and a gem Socrates would highlight is the practice of negative visualization. It sounds grim, but is surprisingly life-affirming. Imagine imagining loss, disappointment, or misfortune not to invite suffering, but to prepare the mind for reality's unpredictability. At first glance, this seems morbid. Why think about what could go wrong? Yet this practice reveals a profound truth. Much of our suffering comes from surprise and unpreparedness. By gently confronting possibility, we cultivate gratitude for what we have and readiness for what may come. SFX, rippling into a river. 3 how would your day change if you started with the thought, this might not go as I wish, and that is okay? Could expectation shift from attachment to openness? Imagine the weight lifted by this subtle reorientation. Ponder further. What if the problem isn't the harshness of reality, but the rigidity of your expectations? What if freedom lies not in changing the world to fit your desires, but in letting your desires flow with the world's rhythms? Stoicism, in this light, is a practice of fluidity, not rigidity. SFX, light_rain. 3 yet, the journey is not solitary. While Stoicism often features the image of the Stoic, calm individual weathering storms, Socrates would remind you of the paradox that true wisdom arises in dialogue with others, with yourself, with life. Your inner ruptures, those moments of conflict and crisis, are invitations to conversation and connection. What if your pain holds messages not just for individual survival, but for communal harmony? If your emotions are signals, whom do they call you toward? SFX, gentle_leaves. 3 the philosopher's role in ancient Athens or in the quiet rooms of your mind is that of companion, not commander. Socrates didn't preach, he asked. He didn't grip answers. He held the space for them to emerge. If you're listening, maybe your own questions are surfacing now. What am I truly holding on to? What parts of myself have I silenced in fear? What might it mean to invite presence, even to the parts that resist? SFX, soft_heartbeat. 2 maybe Stoicism's greatest industry secret, whispered across centuries, is this. The path to peace does not bypass the complexity of your inner world. Instead, it leans into it with courage and compassion. Who would you be if you stopped resisting the heaviness inside you? How might your relationship with discomfort change if you treated it as a visitor rather than an enemy. SFX, wind_harp_tones. For inches this light, Stoicism is less a fortress and more a lantern. It doesn't shield you from darkness, but shows you how to walk through it, step by careful step. I don't offer you answers, only these reflections mirrors for your own questioning. If you're unsettled or craving clarity, maybe these thoughts are landing where they were needed. After all, philosophy is not about certainty. It's about the courage to remain curious, even in silence. What question will you carry with you now, into the quiet moments that follow? SFX, soft under ambience. 3. Let that question linger like a friend waiting patiently for your next breath. And in the patient space between breaths, you might hear the faintest whisper of wisdom, that ancient warmth at the heart of Stoicism and Socrates' enduring legacy. Not control over life, but mastery over how you meet it. Not escape from turmoil, but dance with it. Not certainty, but curious courage. SFX, crackling_fire_small. 5. So, when life unsettles you, remember your invitations. To watch, to question, to soften not around you, but within. This is the philosophy of Socrates' industry secrets. The practice of becoming whole in the face of the storm. What will your next step be? SFX, night_crickets_